Hey there, Zlatko here. Welcome to What is My Brain podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I get the opportunity to chat with fellow founders and business operators about their journey and how they got to where they are now, where they are going, and how they're going to get there. I'm planning on bringing guests and touching on topics such as running multiple businesses, executing ideas, and just spitballing about random topics and current events. It's a casual conversation, and that will hopefully bring value to anyone that decides to listen. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in. Awesome. I think we're live. Charlie, thank you so much, man, for being on the podcast. Like I just mentioned before we started recording, super chill conversation about anything you want to talk about, man. Anything in the work world, personal stuff, anything. So give people an intro who are hopefully going to listen to this of what you do and where you started and anything else you want to share, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on, Zlatko. I'm Charlie Ward, based in London, the UK, not the Ontario, London. And I'm the founder of a community called Weekend Club. We help bootstrap founders, mainly in the SaaS space, but also building all sorts of things like newsletters, podcasts, all sorts. We help get them to run profitable through, remote co-working events, IRL co-working events, education, mentorship, a few things like that. Besides that, I also manage the largest indie hackers community in the UK called Indie London. We've got about 750 members. I currently do these as my side projects. I'm also a UX researcher for a startup on the side, but I'm looking to kind of make the leap to working full-time on my side projects pretty soon. So yeah, that's kind of a bit about me. And very excited to be here.
So are you where did you kind of start off? Were you always kind of looking to build communities, or what was kind of the spin-off there? Like, how did you come to like start things like the London Indie Hackers and Weekend Club and everything like that?
To be honest, it was all kind of a little bit accidental and quite organic. For a bit of context, I'm 33, so the first 6 or 7 years of my career, I actually didn't work.
When were you born? What month were you born in?
August 88.
Oh, okay. I'm September 24th, 88.
Yeah. So we're close. You're close. Yeah, you're one day
close.
One day off my sister's birthday. Yeah, I was born in Berlin in 88, August 88.
Oh, yeah. Oh, nice. That's awesome.
You're from you're born in Bosnia, right?
Yeah, I was originally. So I was born in Bosnia, lived in Croatia, moved to Germany. Actually, lived in Berlin for 4.5 years with my family. Oh, wow. I was still a little guy, and then we came to the U.S. when I was 9 years old. So. It's been crazy, but that's so funny that you mentioned Berlin because there's a lot of memories there, man. There's a lot of memories there.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had more memories from back then, but it's crazy we've got that city in common. But
right.
But to your question, so I was, first 6 or 7 years, I was actually working in creative agencies in London, so like ad agencies making like TV ads, digital ads, other sort of interesting. Weird and wonderful projects, but it was like a startup agency, and we grew it to like quite a lot of revenue. Got some cool clients like Google and stuff, and it was just like a really kind of interesting experience, like growing from nothing to like something. It wasn't like a tech startup that IPO'd, but it was still like quite hands-on experience. But when I left that, I decided I wanted to do something a bit different. So I went into tech. So I started as a product manager. More like corporate innovation projects, like in like energy companies, like oil and gas companies, which is like kind of not quite what I do now, but and I still do like
it's
UX.
It's not the sexiest work, huh?
Yeah, it's I think like good product work when you're doing it is interesting, but the industry is not very sexy, I wouldn't say. But there were some surprisingly interesting projects to be done in like. For example, when I was working in an oil and gas company, we were working on a project in the shipping industry to help ships like predict when they're going to run out of like fuel or lubricant and that kind of thing. And it sounds really boring, but it's actually very interesting. Well, I found it interesting anyway.
Yeah. No,
most people it probably is boring, to be fair. But when I was doing that, I just sort of as I got my head more into like the world of tech, whatever, and started reading blogs, following different people on Twitter, I sort of came across more of the sort of slight more tech subcultures. So I got more into like things like Product Hunt, which is its own like, unique subculture within tech. And from that, I came across Indie Hackers, which is like, and for those that don't know about Indie Hackers, it's a website and a podcast and a community online. Its meaning has changed a little bit, but it's basically bootstraps software founders. But now it's not just people building like SaaS products; it's people building all sorts of things. But the main idea behind it was that people who were in control of their destiny and didn't just like instantly try and sell out to a VC as soon as possible. There are lots of so-called indie hackers who have now raised money. It's like it's not nothing wrong with that, but they've done it in a way where they bootstrap first and they raise in their own terms. And I just found
Didn't they get bought out by Stripe or something like that?
They did, yeah, like quite early.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of in a way, it's kind of like a, it's a bit like it's kind of like it's much more than this, but it kind of is a marketing funnel for Stripe. But like they're very like hands off with it, like as in you don't see the Stripe logo anywhere on the website or the podcast or anything like that, which they could easily do. But it is owned by Stripe. A lot of people. I like Stripe. Like lots of people in the community.
I love Stripe. I love Stripe, man. I'm a huge Stripe. I use Stripe Atlas to register my last business. Like I'm all about it, man. It's every one of their products. Yeah, way easier, dude. With taking payments, registering a business, like absolutely. Sorry, don't mean to go off on a tangent, but I love Stripe.
Yeah. So me too. And so when I came across the Indie Hackers website, I was kind of like, I don't know. I didn't know I'd be looking for it, but I felt like, I kind of dig this. Like I kind of be looking for this, but didn't realize I was looking for this. Just this idea of, people building products, but like not having to do this whole gigantic Silicon Valley VC thing. And there's nothing wrong with people that want to do that, but it was cool to have this like other avenue, which I didn't know about, And you start to see some of the kind of cult figures that like, Peter Levels, obviously, and all these solo like builders, like just making really cool stuff. So anyway, I was just got on there, started posting stuff. I was just like a product manager at the time. Like I was not, and still I'm not a developer or anything. But I started getting into it, and there was a conversation. This is how I got into community building, like through this, basically. And there was a conversation on a thread there. Someone was saying, should some of us meet up in London? So I didn't actually post this originally. I just replied to it. And I was like, oh yeah, why don't we I was like, yeah, cool. Why don't some of us just go this place and let's call it Indie Beers? And I don't know, I just made a bit of effort to try and, just wanted to meet some people who knew about this world, So I kind of helped like push it along. And that's actually how this meetup started, called Indie Beers, which has now since evolved into Indie London, which is one of the communities I run now. So it was kind of awesome. Discovering this website and then like started the meetup, and that was kind of the beginning of it.
That's crazy. And what and have any like anyone that you've been kind of that's part of the community has done anything that's doing significant, like let's say they built up a company to X amount or whatever it is? Has there been any like major like milestone events where people were like, hey, this has really helped me go from just literally starting out, meeting up for like, let's say beers, to now running this full scale like SaaS business or whatever?
Yeah. So, after I did the first meetup for Indie Beers, I just kept doing it like month on month. Obviously COVID like got in the way a little bit, but lots of people came to it was just a pub meetup, like, where we just go to the pub, talk about what we're working on. And it was just never, like, we never had speakers or anything. And just so it was like easy to do it repeatedly. Having it every single month just makes it easier to build a community than having like one big event a year, by, extremity. So all sorts of people came across to it. So like the founder of Hopin came a few times early on. And that's now obviously like, I don't know, like a $6 billion valuation or something.
That's crazy.
A couple of my friends, Saba and Tim, they started a company called Veed.io. And they raised, I think, so they got something like, I don't know, $8 or $10 million ARR, 100% bootstraps. And
wow.
So Veed is a video editing tool in the browser, basically. So it's not like Final Cut. It's more aimed at like mass market, like video content creators. So it's like Canva for video.
Okay.
Yeah. And
by the way, just sorry that you bring that up, but Canva is a huge business now. That is a huge business now.
And
such a smart thing.
Yeah. totally agree. Like my sister's has a skincare business in London, and she's good at like the actual treatment part. She's good at
Yeah.
sales, but she doesn't know much about digital marketing or the tools available to her. And I showed her Canva one day just for making like Instagram posts, and she's like, "Oh my god, this is like insane! Like it's exactly what she'd been looking for, just something fucking simple that she can like make
Exactly.
content,
Exactly.
So, yeah,
I
think
love
they really
it, man.
nailed it. I think Canva just really nailed it.
That's awesome. And then do you guys still to this day do this on a monthly basis? Just do the Indie London stuff?
Yeah. So a bit of context. So Indie London and Indie Beers used to be two different meetups that we used. So my friend Jizlan used to run Indie London. It was more of like a bigger event occasionally where there'd be speakers and stuff. Indie London was just a monthly pub meetup. And so he left London and we actually merged the two. So now it's all like one brand. So like Indie London is like the local community and newsletter and Slack and everything. And there's like different meetups under it. And Indie Beers is now like, so I now manage the whole thing since he left. We have people that help us, of course. But yeah, Indie Beers is now like the main sort of regular meetup that happens basically.
Yeah, and was most of the marketing for that, was that done around like word of mouth stuff when you guys first started, or was it just did you guys like do online like ads or anything like that to get people involved, or how'd you guys get to 750 people? And my follow-up question to that would be like, are you looking to grow it past that? Like, do you want it to be more people?
Yeah. So we didn't use ads or anything. So we just kind of, to market the meetup, just the avenues were just like meetup.com, like for people looking at meetups. You can list meetups on the Indie Hackers website itself. So that was actually a pretty good source. Just Twitter, like I'm quite active on Twitter. We had a mailing list, and then word of mouth. So it was just like a combination of these things, really, that grew it. And it was just like over time, it's just sort of built. And you build a meetup really off your regulars. Like we got a lot of people who would come like every month or like every other month, sort of thing. And that's you need that sort of foundation, and then it just gets like bigger and bigger, really.
That's awesome. And are you guys planning on growing this to be something bigger than it is now? Yeah,
so it's growing quite nicely. We're getting like a couple of new members a day now. It's a free community to join, but that we do check that you are like actually a founder of, or want to be a founder. Just to make sure people aren't coming in just to like shill stuff or just like spam people. But yeah, so we want to just keep growing it. We create this really like nice community in London of founders. But we're starting to think about. I never really thought about this before, but what the guy mentioned earlier, Sava. Not to keep bringing him up, but when he was at a meetup a couple of months ago, at Indie Beers, he said, "Oh, I'm going to Lisbon for a month. Why don't you guys all come out?" And so 20 of us went out to Lisbon just for like a few days, just to co-work and hang out, and it was awesome. And we actually did Indie Beers Lisbon when we were out there, which has like never been a plan, like ever, like never even considered. But it was good. It was like 30 or 40 people out there, and we're just like, what? Maybe we could just do this in other cities apart from London, and just we'll help people market it. We'll help guide you how to do it, and it could be quite cool. So that's now something that we're kind of looking to expand a bit this year. So maybe one in Lisbon, maybe one in actually Toronto. We're talking about at the moment, of all places.
Yeah. And, Toronto's cool. It's a nice little tech hub. Up there in Toronto. Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, when you branch out to the West Coast, I'd love to help you out, man. I've been now that everything's kind of been lifted on the vaccination side of things and all that. You were just talking earlier about going to New York, and my girlfriend and I have been wanting to do that, and then fly out to like London or Manchester, and then like go watch Manchester City play and kind of go from there. So, but yeah, no, that's really, really awesome, man. I think that's the way to do it. And do you guys like charge for anything in terms of that? I mean, that's other than like vetting people and like making sure that they're founders. You guys don't charge absolutely anything for these communities?
Yeah, I'll get onto Weekend Club in a bit, slightly different, but yeah, Indie London is free, and we occasionally. I'm starting to put a little bit more effort into getting sponsors, because we've got like it's a desirable audience of people to reach. Like 750 engineers and creators and that sort of thing. So we're starting to put a bit more effort into like monthly sponsors to monetize that. But yeah, I think it's unlikely we'll start charging people for that. But But Weekend Club, we do charge a monthly subscription. So yeah, that's slightly different.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You guys should take a part of those people and create your own like SaaS business that gets like dispersed. The profits get dispersed between all the members, and it would be kind of cool, man, to get everyone together. That would be really cool.
Yeah, we had this idea for a bit about doing like a community operated and owned SaaS, which in theory does sound really fun, but
it's like a DAO, right?
my only concern is that like it would actually be very difficult to manage. But I think there's something in the idea. So I don't know. We'll see.
Just open source it to the people in the community.
Yeah, and it could be great. It could be chaos, but it'd be an interesting experiment, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and in terms of like your day job, and you say you do you're a UX researcher for a marketing agency. You said.
No, so it's a startup called Tray.io. Tray is it's automation software. It's like Zapier, but more aimed at the enterprise crowd. So it's a bit more flexible and just lets you connect different connectors, move data around, ETL use cases, that sort of thing. So I do a lot of UX research there.
That's awesome. And so in terms of just kind of like the next projects and things that you're getting, so you're looking to just grow. Where's Weekend Club at right now? Like how many people are in part of that community?
Yeah. So quick background on Weekend Club is so about a year or two into doing the Indie Biz meetups. Actually 1 year in, people would say, "Oh, it'd be cool to kind of work on our projects together, not just have a couple of drinks together." And it started as a Saturday co-working club. We go to a local space in London. People pay a subscription. People just hack on stuff together. It was just like a fun little social club. But when COVID happened, we made it remote. And now, like after sort of COVID's, lockdowns have sort of ended, especially in the UK. We have like remote and in-person events basically. But in terms of where that's at, we've got about 80 members right now. It's growing nicely, but I've kind of been growing it. I've always had a job while I've grown it, between 3 days and 5 days a week. And it does limit you a little bit. So I'm looking from the beginning of May, I should be going basically full time. And that's when we're going to kind of try and take things to a new level sort of thing.
Nice. So are you building a team around that? Do you have a couple of people that are going to be involved, or are you doing a lot of it by yourself to start with?
A lot of it's by myself, but we don't have like a formal team, but we have community members who are involved in managing the community. James Abhishek, Reacher, Michael, Stefan, Wilhelm, just like a Boomy, like a few of us, we kind of get together and host events or help in other ways, and it just makes things a lot easier. Basically, got a great virtual assistant called Lydia as well, who helps with lots of things, and so it kind of is a team, but it's more like a little bit more informal than like a kind of regular team, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's really awesome. So what are some things you guys are going to work on to kind of grow this once you go full time, and what do you want to grow it to? Like, are you going to kind of have like different cities the way what you guys are thinking about doing with like Indie London, or like Indie Lisbon and all that stuff? Are you going to do the same thing with the Weekend Club, or?
Yeah. There's a couple of different ways, I guess.
Because I truly enjoy that community, man. I thought it'd be really, really cool to have, a little bit of that. I see when you guys post pictures and all this other stuff, it'd be really nice to have that like locally, right? So I'm just curious to see if that's like part of the expansion process and what that looks like.
Yeah. So there's probably a few different avenues. And one way is we definitely want to have, so we have in-person events in London at the moment, as you know, but we want to definitely have that in other places. So what I'm trying to do is just get the London space into make that like a test case where like, okay, this is like a case study of how we find a location. We recruit like hosts so we can manage these events every month. Then we can have a case study which we can send to other spaces, say, hey, this space is really happy. This is how we make it work. Do you want to get involved? Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We can start
Almost
to do
like
it.
a franchise kind of business in a way.
Possibly, yeah. I need to figure out the exact like model. The most basic model is just like we just pay our hosts to host each event and like give them a free
Right.
membership, and that might just be enough. And then we give the co-working space a cut as well, and so kind of everyone's happy because it's also a marketing tool for the co-working space because we're like the One London, we shout them out online a lot. We get them new members, so they're happy because it's empty on Saturdays anyway. So we just need to figure out how to get this to like other spaces around in different cities. So yeah, would love to bring it to California one day, and it'd be great.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And how do you guys go? How do you guys go pick about picking spaces that you guys would have these places at? Is it usually just like more like co-working spots, or because I know you just said like Saturdays they usually don't have much business. So I'm just curious on what spaces those are.
Yeah, when we started, we thought, oh, could we do this in like cafes or restaurants? But if people are going to work, hang out and like work on stuff, like for like most of a day, you kind of need an actual desk and like an actual space for it. So I think it has to be a co-working space, and they're often empty anyway. So it's a little bit easier to agree with them, I think. So yeah, the main thing we go for spaces like to be honest, it was quite a lot. I had to speak to like 15 or 20 to find one which works. There were a few that like most of them just don't respond because they probably don't even check their like inbox. I don't know. There were some we saw which were like okay, but the location wasn't great, and we just found one called the Halley in a place called Haggerston, East London, which was just amazing. It's like a music focused space, so they got like a recording studio in there with the stuff, and it's just like on this beautiful canal with an amazing cafe next to it, and it's been great. So we just want to find more kind of open-minded spaces in good locations like that, really.
That's sick. That's really awesome. I mean, even dude, it's even worth like I feel like it's even worth like renting out a nice Airbnb somewhere for like a night, like a couple $100. You know what I mean? And find like a nice little. So that's awesome. And in terms of what'd you say?
Just said that's not a bad idea. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably paying. I don't know how much these co-working spaces, but they're not cheap, especially when you get a bunch of people in there. So if you get like a nice little apartment or a house, that might be a good way of doing it. And so, how much longer do you think before you go full time on this? When you decide to kind of pull the trigger on everything?
So from the beginning of May, I'm going like almost full time. So I'm going to be freelancing for like 1 day a week from May. Okay. But to go absolutely full time, I kind of need to grow the revenue to a little bit more. But I'm hoping I can do that from like around September or something like that.
It's not easy to grow a community, man. It's not easy to grow a community, man.
Yeah, it takes time. But it's one of those things where like that you get more challenges as it grows, but in some ways growth just gets easier as it grows because of the network effect. So like it just becomes more valuable the bigger it gets, as long as you have, the right sort of members.
Yeah. And how do you think about retention when it comes to community? Like what are some things that are working on like retaining people? It's like, you can grow, but you also want people to be there long-term because then they can continue to offer more value and they know, you kind of have your points where you can say, oh yeah, I know this person, he works on this or whatever it might be. So I'm curious about how you think about retention there.
Yeah, well, it works in similar ways to like, retention with say a SaaS product, but obviously there's some differences like as people join for the network as well as what experience you can provide. But people just care about the experience of a SaaS, right? But they care about the network and the experience with community. So the experience in terms of like maybe you have some like interesting events or like whatever, but you want to try and get people to meet relevant people to them as soon as possible, whether that's like a one-on-one introduction or make sure they're coming to the right event or that kind of thing. So it's making sure they're kind of connecting with the right people quickly is important. And that a lot of it's onboarding. It's just like with new people come, understanding what they need from the community, that they're a good fit, and just getting them onboarded quickly. So yeah, it's nothing complicated, but it's just about consistently doing that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And how many people do you think are are going to end up helping you with this as you go full time? Are you going to keep the people that are kind of helping now? Or are you planning on like, hey, we're going to need some, extra marketing and things like that? Because I'm still in awe kind of what Product Hunt does, and that nobody's come around and really kind of like almost mimic that model in a way. They've stood on their own two legs for a really long time, and I think it's awesome, and I love it, and I go on there all the time. But it's like they've built one of the biggest communities like online, right? I mean, in technical, you really can't get onto Product Hunt until you have like an invite, people need to trust you, and there was a lot of factors there. So I'm curious to know like how, like, where do you want to take this? I guess, is it more like hand this off, or do you want to really push this forward to really create like a company around this?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think where the vision of where it can go is like, so, in like the next year, we can start having like our events in different cities around the world, grow the overall membership base through like creating content and education and that sort of thing. Where I think eventually it could go is we could have our own co-working spaces as well around the world. Where you have to be a bootstrap founder or just a founder to join, and it's part of this like remote and in-person community. It's like a social club kind of thing. I think that's where it could go. But a big part of it is also education. Like we're kind of refocusing, because we find a lot of our members are quite early stage. And we still want to help our more later stage members, but it's kind of about, we want to help people, like give them the support to get to Ramen profitable, and also beyond that, so support them to whatever goals they have beyond that as well. And a lot of that's the community and mentorship, but just like good education as well.
I love it. And in terms of oh man, the question just left my head.
No worries, man.
Ooh, I literally had a quick question about that, but no worries. So where do you go? Oh, that's what it was. What trends in terms of what people are working on? Like, are you seeing like a lot of NFT stuff right now? Is like Web3 like the hot topic that you see like kind of buzzing around the most, or what sort of industries are you kind of seeing like, oh wow, I hear a lot of people posting this, or is it more like e-commerce brands or whatever? What do you see as like the kind of the rolling topics, or the few hot ones, I guess?
Yeah. So, I mean, you definitely see,
because you're in the NFT space and you're going into like the Web3 stuff. So like, I know you're familiar with it.
Yeah. So I mainly kind of play around with like, trading some NFTs here and there, and
right.
But you've definitely seen more people than normal getting into Web3 in the last year or so. So in 2017, with the first sort of crypto bull run, like people were just sort of buying coins, but no one was really, I didn't really notice anyone like actually building stuff. Like, but it's
doing
different
anything.
in the last year. Like people are actually building projects on Ethereum in the last year, who used to previously build like SaaS products, and so that's been like new. I've definitely seen people like really go like hard and fast. Not everyone, but I've seen a few people go hard and fast in that direction. So to be honest, that is probably the biggest trend, honestly. And like the most activity is around some DeFi, but a lot of it is around NFTs. Like especially in London, like there's a lot of people who are really into NFTs in London. Because there's a lot of artists and technologists here. There's a big Ethereum community here. I'm trying to think what else, because I'm sure there's other stuff like some of this. There's common patterns of what other people do. Like lots of people are kind of lots of people starting podcasts. Like in the last year, that's become much more popular, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Creating content of various kinds has just become way more common, whether that's a newsletter or a podcast.
Right.
Yeah. So those are probably off the top of my head the most common things.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think the NFT thing, especially if you spend a good amount of time on Twitter, that's been like the hottest kind of like trend that I see people switching over from like Web 2 to Web 3 and all that stuff. So no, that's interesting. And when did you get roughly into like crypto and different things like that? Did you start that pretty early on, or were you just kind of like maybe a late bloomer to the crypto space?
Well, I mean, I first probably bought it in like 2017. I got some ETH and Bitcoin, but I wasn't like I probably spend more time reading about it now, honestly, than I did back then. Then there was like, after 2018, there was like a sort of, winter for 3 years.
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a really good way to put it. We had winter for a couple of years.
Yeah, and like I didn't really, I'm actually quite glad, but like I kind of just held on to stuff. I actually bought some stuff like in the bottom of the winter, not like tons or anything, but just like,
Yeah,
I kind of had a feeling that it would come back someday. I didn't know for sure, obviously. A year ago, maybe not a year ago, maybe like last July, it kind of clicks that I was interested in NFTs. So I kind of saw them before and was sort of didn't spend. I was like, okay, cool. I'm like, was busy with other stuff. So I got into that, and I came across DAOs. I saw some interesting DAOs like Friends with Benefits, which I thought was cool. I saw some interesting projects like Cool Cats. I don't know if you know Cool Cats, but just seeing.
I actually met one of the co-founders in Austin when I was waiting at a coffee shop. One of the Cool Cats co-founders, actually. It was a really cool guy. So then I knew about him before that, and then I met him, and I was like, oh damn, this project has taken off like crazy.
Yeah, that's a cool project, and I think a lot of people actually got into. I think it's got the best art, some of the best art in the entire space.
I think so too.
Personally, and it's weird. What clicked for me was not just like seeing like an image or whatever. It was seeing how people behaved with it. It's like when you saw communities of people setting theirs as their profile picture. Like it had this weird thing that clicks to me. It's like it's not just like an image. It's like it brings people together as like a community, and it also has like touches on digital identity, and I was just like, wow, there's a lot more to this than I thought, basically. And I just started sort of like to get more involved and that kind of thing, and buying a few.
The rabbit hole starts there, huh?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I did the same exact thing. I remember.
Go on. Sorry, after you. After you. Sorry, there's a slight delay.
No, I was gonna. Yeah. There's just a little bit. It's all good. No, I saw one of my buddies bought a Bored Ape like very early on, and then I saw him post something that he had like sold it for crazy amounts of money, like $250,000, and I was like, damn. I was like, I remember him, and I'm thinking like, why would I buy that? Why would I buy that thing? And and I was like, damn, this is crazy. Yeah. And then I saw him sell it, and I was like, wait, what did I miss here? And then I went back, I went down the rabbit hole for a hole, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. And then my friend the next day, by I don't know, sheer energy, just texted me. He's like, you should get into this NFT project. And I was like, what? Oh, okay, sure. And then I got into it, and I was like, oh, this is sick. Like, this actually connects with me. This is like not just the art. It's not just this, but there's like a really cool mission. So, and I'm digging it, man. I'm digging it. I love it. I think it's crazy. I think it's absolutely insane what people are doing. But I think that's what I like about it. I think I like seeing the craziness and people just spending crazy amounts of money on, literally being part of a community, like you said.
Yeah, something I got into recently. So I think you mentioned this. So this episode is due to come out maybe end of April. So let's assume it's end of April. No big deal if it isn't, by the way. But if it is end of April, that in like a week from now, in the future when this comes out, like the beginning of May.
You just confused everybody when this is actually coming out.
Yeah, I'll probably confuse people massively. Anyway, let's just say the beginning of May, we're kind of launching the next version of Weekend Club. So I think it's likely that we might move to Discord first of all. That we're going to add like weekly AMAs with founders and Q&As and that sort of thing that people can participate in. Regular like weekday co-working, not just Saturday co-working. We're refocusing everything on helping people get to ramen profitable and beyond. So we've got a new branding with like this really cool ramen bowl. But the probably the biggest difference is like people who have hit their ramen profitable goal will now be members for free. And we will airdrop them a unique ramen bowl NFT, which will give them like access to our Discord for free, basically.
Oh, wow.
I got really into this concept recently called non-transferable NFTs. Basically, they're the NFTs that you can't buy or sell, you can only earn. And so you can earn them by proving that you got, you hit this target, basically this monetary target, and we might be able to do it so you can connect with the Stripe API, and it shows you're over X amount, then you can become a member for free, basically. So
I love it, man.
It means it's kind of like treating it as a credential rather than just like as a JPEG you bought. So I'm quite interested.
It's authentication. It's authentication.
Yeah.
That's dope. And when do you plan on making that transition? You said May?
Start of May, yeah. So realistically, as you can probably tell, there's a few things to work out logistically here. Like actually creating them is the easy part, but it's just like,
getting people over there.
Yeah. I think that how do you verify that someone has hit this target? What is the target? Like, what's the minimum amount for someone to be ramen profitable? Like, maybe it needs to be different in different countries. Then it's like, how do you prove that someone lives in that country? So, I just need to figure out what level of granularity we're actually going to bother with here, because it just might be like you could go so granular and say, like, oh, what city do you live in the UK? Because some are cheaper. Right. I mean, it's just like it gets ridiculous after a while.
Yeah.
We just need to figure that.
But then you guys are not going to. And then when you guys are not going to charge for an actual like membership once people hit that milestone, you said?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool. Well, that's awesome. That's a nice little perk. Let me ask you.
Sorry, I was just going to also say that it's also a way to kind of keep, people that are a little bit further in their journey and have like picked up some great lessons along the way. So also get them to stick around and also to make them want to join. So, and that then in turn helps lift other people towards their goal. And it's like this, hopefully it's like this virtuous cycle of helping people, and helping each other.
You're creating an ecosystem within your community. Basically, you have like a tangible, like pretty much like a tangible thing, because they have to be at a certain threshold for them to be there. Yeah, no, I love it, man. I love it. That's really cool. That's really cool. And who is developing kind of the back end of all this?
Yeah. So good question. So to be honest, I'm mostly focused on the visual element right now. So I'm working with a great designer I know, Alex, he's helping with the look and feel of the updated branding. But then we're gonna brief an illustrator to help bring the actual ramen characters to life. And I think I've found the illustrator, but we need to like lock things down and just like fully agree on everything. But hopefully I'll do that soon. But in terms of like how to actually go about minting these different NFT characters, and we'll probably just do it one by one. Like when someone hits their target, they will get one. So it's not going to be like we generate 10,000 at a time or anything like that. So it's not as crazy as that. But there were increasing numbers of like online tools that let you do this without running any smart contracts. So there's one called Third Web, which is like a no-code smart contract tool, which is pretty interesting. There's another one called
I haven't heard of that actually.
Third Web, it's getting a lot of attention right now. I haven't used it. Another one's called Manifold, which is going to be quite cool.
Oh, I've heard of Manifold. Yeah, I've heard of Manifold. People launched a couple of projects on there. So yeah, I remember. Yeah, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so because the thing is, like, the options basically are, mint it on OpenSea is probably the easiest way. It's like a form kind of thing. However, I don't think that lets you do. I don't think that lets you do non-transferable NFTs, which is like, it turns out is a bit of a niche in the space, which I'm just learning right now. I literally learned like 3 days ago.
And why are you going down that route? Why are you going down that route to not be able to transfer? Like, what if somebody wants to give up their? Oh, because the threshold of the money. I see. Never mind. That was a stupid question. I see.
I don't think it's a stupid question. It's like, I think it's slightly subjective as to which is the better way, because it would be kind of cool, right, if people earn it through hitting the threshold, but one day they decide, hey, the community's not for me anymore. That could happen in any community someday.
Of course.
Maybe I want to sell it to someone, and they probably get a decent price for it because it's a lifetime membership, and that's quite a desirable thing for people. But the trade-off is that when people have this, it's less meaningful because there's a chance that they didn't earn it. There's a chance they just force it. So that's kind of the trade-off I'm thinking about.
Yeah, that's That's exactly what went through my head when I asked that question. So that makes sense. So, aside from the work stuff, what are your kind of daily personal life hobbies? How do you take care of yourself? I guess is the other piece of it, because I am interested to see what people, because I think people have changed their sort of behaviors quite a bit, especially when like COVID hit. Everyone started going outside more, doing different things, and just kind of
Yeah.
like enjoying things a little bit more. So what are some things you do? I know you're traveling, you're doing a lot of those things, but what do you kind of do on a
Yeah.
weekly or monthly or daily basis to just kind of chill
Yeah.
out?
To be honest, like I'm probably not the greatest at this, like right now.
Not many people are, Charlie. Not many people are. I promise you, dude. Everyone's just
Like
kind of like hustling and
yeah,
doing their thing.
I try. I mean, I do try and run a couple of times a week. I started learning the ukulele. I'm not good at it, but I wanted to do something that was just 100% like not monetizable, just like something I
Right.
would entirely do for enjoyment.
Yeah.
I'm trying to travel a bit more this year. Obviously, the last 2 years it was a bit harder. But
Right.
I'm trying to
Right.
every month to go somewhere like in Europe, or going to the USA in May to June. Going to Scotland later this month. So just trying to
Hell
like do
yeah.
a little trip every month, and yeah, just trying to enjoy life that way. Like I just realized there's only like so much I can do. It's just like
Right.
I'm trying to realize I just don't have time to do like I've had other hobbies in the past. Like I used to do a lot of yoga and like rock climbing and stuff. Like I just don't have the time anymore to do all this stuff. But I enjoy the community building when we're doing meetups and stuff. Like I honestly just love doing it. It's like a release for me. So I
That's
like doing
awesome.
that. But you're right. It's important to like if you make your entire life that like if it doesn't work out, it's not so good. So it is good to have some other things on the table.
Yeah, burnout is a real thing, man. Burnout is a real thing, no matter what you're doing. Like I definitely agree with the fact that like when you're, actually enjoying doing it, and you seem like, oh, it's not as much stress because I'm actually like happy and all this other stuff. But there's always a little bit of that stress, and I think it builds up over time. And no matter what it is, like you kind of need that point where you're just like, let me take a week off, let me go to a different country, let me go to a different city, whatever it is, just to like disconnect for a little bit. So that's awesome. What countries do you have in mind over the next couple of years to see? I mean,
Yeah.
what's your priority list?
Yeah. To be honest, there's lots of countries I already love that I don't mind going back to some of those countries. Like I love Spain
Right.
and Portugal and France and that sort of thing. Sometimes it's good to just like go to different places and like places you already enjoy. But I know it's
Yeah.
kind of a boring answer. But I would like to actually go to Mexico. I've never been to
Nice.
South America, so that I know that Central America. Also, I'd like to go to South America, and I'd like to go to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And I've never been to
Portugal's
Australia.
on the top of my list. Portugal's at the top of my list. I really want to go to Portugal.
You should, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, you should definitely go.
Did you
Like Lisbon,
you enjoyed
and
your time?
yeah. It's just got like a bit of everything. It's just like it's the sunniest capital city in Europe. Great beaches, really good culture. Like it's fun, it's cheap, good food. It's got
I
everything.
love it.
So it's why everyone's
I
moving
love it.
there. Literally, everyone's moving there right now.
Yeah, I see that, and I think a lot of it has to do with the taxes and shit. Nobody wants to pay like crypto taxes,
Yeah,
so they're just like,
that's
hey,
it.
yeah, I'm going to Portugal.
It's definitely part of it. Yeah.
People are like, I don't care about anything else. I just don't have to pay all my crypto taxes.
Yeah. There's other. I'm sure there's other countries with no crypto taxes which suck, but like Portugal's
Yeah.
like a good country as well.
Right. That's hilarious. Awesome, man. Do you anything else you want to chat about? Anything else you want to touch on? Any new projects or anything? I know you obviously have the in May kind of switching over different things and
Yeah.
working on the new project. Is there anything else you want to leave people with
Yeah.
who hopefully listen to this?
Yeah, so Weekend Club 3.0 is in start of May. I've kind of said that publicly a couple of places to kind of like force myself, because this is the thing with being like a solo.
That's an
founder.
interesting thing. I like doing that too.
Yeah, you don't actually have like the same. I don't think you have as much pressure. I find it harder to put pressure on myself than like when I work with other people directly. So I do things like I trick myself by like having public deadlines for things and stuff like that. It's like I don't normally need to do this, but
Hey, it's important to know how you tick, right? It's important to know like what works for you, and when you figure it out, you just got to do it, and then at some point, it just becomes a thing. So, no, I love
Yeah.
that. I've done that plenty of times, man. It's the accountability factor. A lot of people who run businesses tend to lose a lot of accountability over time because they're just kind of delegating things and doing. So, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, 100%. And besides that, I'm trying to enjoy life as much as possible this year. But yeah, just trying to look at different projects. I briefly thought about doing a pod at some point. I will see if I have time. I'm talking to my friend about acquiring a small SaaS, which is just like a way of gamifying Slack community. So it's a bit like, have you ever used a whip chat before or Makerlog? No
No, I
reason you
haven't.
should. But they have these cool features where it lets you do streaks. So it's basically for people to post what they're working on every day. Like that's all it is. So it's a community of founders. But it does like leaderboards of like the consecutive days that you've shipped kind of thing. However, nothing exists that does this for like a Slack channel. So it's just a tool that lets you do that. So I want to acquire that and make some changes, use it for Weekend Club, and then make it available to other people to buy, basically. So that should be hopefully a fun project. But I don't know if it's going to be slightly scuppered by moving to Discord, and am I going to have to suddenly fork the whole thing to work for Discord instead? So,
right. And why? What's the biggest reason? Just because of the NFT stuff, or for Discord changes, or what's the reason for it? It's just like Slack is too expensive.
As in why to move to Discord? Yeah, and there's a few. I mean, it's actually quite a difficult decision, especially when people are used to using Slack for your community. But Discord has a few things going for it. So you have unlimited messaging history, and you don't need to pay for it. It's incredibly expensive on Slack. It's not really it's not really feasible for a growing community. Right. They've got really good voice channels and stages, so it's a bit more of a kind of better community experience than having to click through to a Zoom channel. They've got there's really good bot ecosystem as well, lots of cool stuff on it. It lets you actually customize the channels and where they are a lot more, which sounds quite trivial, but on Slack you can't really do that at all, and you have to make them alphabetical, and you can actually treat Discord a bit like it's a user interface, like a product. Unlike Slack.
Exactly. The only thing that I would say, there's a split focus. Discord has this fast, a lot of messages just fucking blowing up all the time. Even though Slack has this target that it's work related, or that it's something that you're quote unquote monetizing or whatever it is. There's this mental tick with Slack and Discord. Discord to me screams NFTs and crypto and all that stuff, even though there's plenty of other communities, don't get me wrong, but I think that's what really skyrocketed Discord, because Discord in the past was primarily gaming stuff and all this, and now it's become so. Anyways, that's my 2 cents on it. I mean, I love both of them, they're just very, very different, but yeah, Discord is definitely on the feature list to have really expanded into something completely different.
Yeah, it's a tough one, people I like Slack as well. I like Slack and Discord. I just feel there's a lot of knowledge, right? When people ask questions and they get these really good threads to going right in Slack, and you just lose them after a month, basically. Right. And just having this easy repository on Discord where you can just search for what people said before about what's a good cold email. And there's been dozens of answers in the past on Weekend Club, but you it's a lot of work to kind of try and archive everything as you go. And then you have to move it to a separate archive on a Notion page, and no one ever looks at it. So yeah, it's these little things. Yeah. It's not an absolute black and white, home run better thing to be on Discord. I just think long term it could be slightly better. But this is actually the thing I'm most worried about the next version of Weekend Club is Discord. I'm more worried about that than any of the NFT stuff.
It's gonna be a hard move, man. I'll tell you right now, be prepared for a hard move. I think it's gonna be an uphill battle, because it's already hard enough to get people to I mean, I don't know how many Slack organizations I'm part of, and I only have like 4 on my sidebar now because I've like 15 of them, and it just like disappears. And so like I can already tell you it's very hard for me to keep up with like Slack. And now it's like when you get people to move this completely, and Discord is a little bit overwhelming, honestly. Like when you get in there and you have to do all these things and verify, and it's like, what am I trusting here? I mean, it gets a little fuzzy. So yeah, I could definitely tell you that I can understand why you would be worried about that part of it.
Yeah, and this is just like that's the risk. You can't get any reward without a bit of risk. And well, I'm hoping that it is better, but I guess if it completely screws up, that we could go back at least, and hopefully it doesn't.
Yeah, but the other thing is you get a different level of people going in there as well now. Like people that are like, oh shit, this is on Discord. You may get a bigger community that way as well. So you never know, man. It might flip around in a much different way.
Yeah, I wish I felt more confident about like what was definitely the better way, because it's just subjective. Some people like, hell yeah, Discord. Some people like, fuck no, not Discord, but stay on Slack. So
right.
It's kind of hard to please everyone. So I just need to try and weigh it up.
Yeah, run a bunch of polls in the Slack thing. Like, do you guys want to switch over? Yeah. Do you want to switch over? And then just keep a handy note and be like, all right, you guys said, everybody said yes. So
yeah, we'll see.
Cool, man. Well, Charlie, I really appreciate you being on the podcast, man. Like I said, this is literally episode 2 recording for the new version of this. So I really appreciate you, man. Like I said, I love the Weekend Club. I try to chime in there as much as I can when I have time and all that stuff. So again, thanks for always pushing people. I always see everything, especially the thing about Ukraine and Ostap, what you did. That hit me differently. So I really appreciate it, man. I think you're doing an awesome thing. And if there's anything I can ever do to help, let me know.
No problem at all. Yeah, thanks for having me on and for being an awesome Weekend Club member, man.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Have a good one, and I'll chat with you soon.
Sounds good. Cheers, man. Bye.
Later. Well, you made it to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning into What is My Brain podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got some value out of it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button or the follow button to get notified when new episodes are live. I'm out. Thank you.